we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which is one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
In terms of our roll call and attendance, we have 3 members virtual, 3 members present, and expect the other member to be joining. We also have our Commissioner, Gary Persinger, and we have Town Manager Bill Zumfler. So I also note that we have 1 member of the public in person. I don't believe we have any members of the public virtual, but we welcome at appropriate times for those members to speak. There will be a 2-minute maximum time, and the intention is to have the meeting conclude within 1 hour because of people's time commitments. As a result of that, the items that we will be tabling will be C to H, and I will take a vote on that in a minute to have our committee members move to table those items and focus on our priorities for today. Has everybody on the committee reviewed this agenda for today? Can I have a motion to adopt the agenda? And is there a second? All in favor of adopting the agenda?
Aye.
Any opposition? No opposition, the agenda is adopted. Has everybody on the committee reviewed the minutes from the August 28th meeting? Can I have a motion to adopt those minutes? Can I have a motion to adopt?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. May I have a second?
A second.
Second.
All in favor of adopting the minutes that Courtney so well put together for our committee, please say you're in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition to adopting the minutes? No opposition. The minutes from August 28th as drafted are adopted. So we have very specific action items to address today. They are A and B on the agenda. I would ask for a committee member to make a motion to table C through H, which were put here as table just to kind of placeholders, and we would like to table those for future discussion. Can I have a motion to do so?
Deborah,
Yes.
Deborah, can I interrupt just for a second? You might want to consider just leaving H, just in case we have time. We could have that code red demonstration. I think it would fit under H.
Oh, okay. I was going to put that under A, but I'm happy to put that.
Oh, okay,
under
that's fine. Wherever you, I just didn't want to lose sight of that. So
No, I appreciate that, Gary.
okay, all right, thank you.
And if I could have a motion to table C through G and possibly H.
I motion to table C through H.
And if I can have a second, anybody opposed to doing so? Any member of the public have any opposition or wish to be heard on that? No motion, no comment from the public. Everybody in favor of doing so, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Those items are tabled. So I want to turn to item A. Where we had been the last meeting was as a result of the town asking for more information, the committee was asked to do some more investigation. And I want to note that members have really spent a lot of time trying to do what was requested of the town. I want to turn to Kelly first. And you had some questions for the consultants. You had prepared a listing. Could you discuss that, please?
Yes, those are the same questions that we put forward previously, but I did find another consultant who was very great, willing to talk, willing to work. He actually, Bill, do you know him, Larry Trout? Or Gary, do you know him, Larry Trout?
I do not, maybe Bill does.
Really, because he's actually, he worked on all this work that was our median. He worked for a different company at the time, but I don't know the name of that company. And now he works for Strong Environmental. But I found his name from Brent Jett, who was our other consultant, which was very gracious of him to share to me, another consultant that does similar work. And he answered the same questions that GMB did. And he's done a lot of work directly with Dewey. He's very familiar with our issues. So I think we have two really nice consultants to consider. And, you know, I feel like the question goes back to the commission is what else would you like to see from us? I would suggest that these two consultants present to the commission. So the questions that we can't think of can be answered real time, and they do it all the time. You know, they're working with Fenwick Island, the other one's working with Lewis, and they started by presenting to the decision makers, and then presenting to the town. So I think that probably is the next step. You know, if these were the initial questions, they answered them. And I'm not sure, I think we need a little regroup here, and I think for the information to go forward, I think it needs to go directly to, that would be my recommendation.
So what I have heard from this subcommittee, individually and as a group, is that you all feel that this has been exhaustive on behalf of our committee, and really at this point, the information needs to go to the town, and the town needs to hear from these two consultants who are really the only two that have voiced that not only are they interested, but capable and experienced in handling these, for them to present at the next town council meeting. Sally, do you want to talk about anything beyond that?
The only other thing I would say was I was hoping to get just some general feedback from the St. Michael's in Maryland, because they did some work with, a lot of work actually with GMB. And I called the gentleman the contact I had. I left a voicemail, he did not respond. And then following that, every time I tried to call him, his voicemail was full. So I have not been able to reach him.
So would you be able to state that your work, along with the other subcommittees' work, you all have really exhausted anybody that's going to be responsive on this and tried to meet what the town has requested in terms of additional information, or at least attempts to obtain additional information?
I would say so.
I would say so. I mean, you know, there's always, we could keep calling and calling and calling, but I would say to address the commission's feedback from last meeting, you know, that a lot of that information is in these responses directly from the consultants. They have a list of potential monies, where they've gotten money before for Dewey, you know, and whether those, you know, we're never going to know until we actually apply for these monies if it's going to still be there. But some of it is just unanswerable until you go through the process. But I think these are both very viable candidates. They've been responsive to me, they've been generous with their time and generous with their knowledge. And I think they'd be very happy to come present.
Liam, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Nothing much. I think it's great work, Kelly. I think Strawn and GMB are both good choices. I think once we put this out, we'll have some more interest from other firms as well. But I think it'd be really good to get both of them to present at the next town council meeting, especially since we weren't able to get any information from that other town. They could answer some more questions on that. So,
if you'll notice in both of their responses, there's a pretty hefty difference in cost.
Yeah.
And Liam, I don't know if you have any advice on this in general, how you know, at some point it's sort of apples to oranges what they're like. There's going to be differences that are outside of my scope of knowledge to know what's a fair price there. But you know, there is a large difference in their estimate of cost.
sure, and I'm sure they both have different ideas of what exactly the scope would be too, because In your questions, I don't think you sent the scope of work that we put together, did you?
I didn't send what you and Gary put together, and which we could follow up with, but that would be a great way for them to come present to them.
Gary, did you want to comment on it? I think that the subcommittee, on behalf of the committee, has extensively researched and obtained information to the maximum extent that they are able at this time. And I think we are, and of course, I'm going to seek a vote in a minute, but we are recommending that these two companies come and speak to the town. I'm wondering if that's something that could be done at the next town council meeting this month, or what your thoughts are.
Yeah, when we discussed this at the town council meeting, there was a clear interest in knowing more about the effects of having this kind of work done. You know, St. Michael's was used as an example. St. Michael's mentioned, the response from GMB mentioned that St. Michael's had used the work that they had done to get some additional grant money for some other projects. And I think there was some general interest among the commissioners in finding out, again, what the practical effect was of having this work done. Clearly, you've tried, and I think you've done as much as you could to contact these other municipalities to get some more information about that. So I think that, in terms of bringing the potential contractors in, it would be important, both as Liam suggested, to share with them the outline scope of work that we put together, as well as frame for them some of the questions about what they know about the practical effects are of the work that they did for these municipalities, so that they're at least prepared for that kind of question.
Well, and they
can
when
better
I
respond.
in my personal conversations with them, they did speak to that, but of course they're coming as a salesman, but I believe them. So that's why I think they'd be best suited to answer the specific questions of the council.
Do you think, Gary, that's something you could get to happen for the next town meeting?
That's what I'm not sure about at this point. I don't know what the agenda looks like for the next meeting yet. I don't know, Bill may know better yet. I know the mayor has been away on vacation, and I don't know how much work has been done to develop the agenda. There are some other things that we have been working on that we want to deal with at the next meeting. I'm not saying we can't. I don't want to rush it too much and not feel prepared, that we're prepared for the discussion that we need to have. Because I think it is important, and we want to make sure that we have an opportunity to get out the kinds of questions that we need to, and try to get the responses and the information that we in the committee would like to have. So,
Deborah, if I may, Dave here.
So if we can acknowledge that we now have all members present. Please, Dave, good morning.
Good morning. To Gary's point, Gary, I spoke to Bill a couple of weeks ago, and I just kind of hopefully laid the groundwork for it being added to the agenda in the coming meeting. He also seemed to say that he had not received a copy of the documents that we had shared, and I know that we had sent up some things, including at least the first contractor's proposal, right? I'm not sure why Bill hadn't seen it, but he seemed unfamiliar. But I think I understood that he would add it to the next meeting's agenda. Hopefully that helps, push this along a little further.
Did you provide him with a copy of that, Dave?
it was one of the documents that was provided for the meeting before the discussion at the council meeting. So,
Yeah.
I think Bill was just not recalling. Bill Stevens was just not recalling that he had at least had access to that material. Certainly.
There's one other document that I think would be useful as an example of what the work, might look like, is the Fenwick Island study. And that was actually by the other consulting company that I could never reach, but as Liam says, maybe when we start the process, they would, come forward. But it addresses sort of the circle of work and, where they got the money all the things that we're talking about, which is exactly what these engineers do, But I would suggest that we're not going to solve whether we can present or not, but that it is what we want to do is what we're voting on, and we can work on dates and how that works after.
So what I'm hearing is that what we want to do as a committee is recommend that the town move forward on this based on that packet of information, along with the initial, what I'm going to call the initial questions for consultant by Mr. Trout that you had obtained, Kelly, and that we recommend to the town that they invite these two consulting companies to speak as soon as possible. If it's not this month, then at the next.
Yeah, I mean,
month.
I think I would say this committee is recommending that these consultants speak with, when possible, at the next town meeting. And in coordination with us, we'll support that and schedule.
Yes, please, Ben.
So I think it's great work that you've been doing, but please recognize back in 2012, there was a study done on mitigating flooding and stormwater runoff here in Dewey Beach. It came back with many recommendations. And in 2017, a second study was done on stormwater runoff and how to mitigate that, and everything from water gardens to pervious pavers on the street. So for example, do pervious pavers on Reed Street on the Bayside was approximately $1 million. And that's all in the two studies that I think I sent to Sally. They're right here. One was done by RKK in 2017 and one was done by Cotton Engineering in 2012. Now the one by RKK's was done almost 10 years ago. You may want to have another study to update, but both those studies were done. There's a lot of information in there about water runoff. So I don't know what a new study is going to bring that's not in these. So I think these should be looked at if they haven't already, and they should, by the committee, should look through these, read these, and then figure out, okay, in the 10 years since the RKK study, what's changed, right? Maybe that new consultant would do that. But I'd hate to have the town spend money, whether we get a grant or not, have another study done, and we're just repeating the two studies that have already taken place.
Yeah.
Oh,
Bill,
I
I
think-
think one of the first things the consultant would do is take a look at where we are, take a snapshot of where we are today, what work has been done, and then hopefully come up with next steps, like what additional work needs to be done to further protect the town.
Well, and Larry Trout actually was one of those people. He's the one who did the rain garden in front of the little corner store and the median. He also worked on, I don't know what the project is called, where the runoff with the flaps that didn't necessarily work. So they're knowledgeable, both of these consultants are knowledgeable of Dewey.
And just want to, we have already a project on Reed Street where we get the worst flooding in the whole town on the Bayside. That's $1 million project through a grant that we wrote through Senator Coon's office for a pump station. So that is being addressed, but it's going to take 2 years for that project. That's just working with the Army Corps. Dickinson Street, we're working with Beacon Engineering for the street flooding there. Van Dyke Street, we're working with JMT for the flooding there. Sunset Park, McKinley Street, Dagsworthy, the issue there is we're working with the Center of the Inland Bays on projects to mitigate the flooding there. At the end of McKinley Street, there's a wetland next to the Lions Club, next to North Beach, that may or may not be owned by the Hayden family. Denrick has told us to put a swale in there to get the water to run out into the bay. We have to get the Hayden's family's permission. We've been working with the Center of the Inland Bays to try to attempt that. We're working with the Lions Club also, which is right now is responsible for the maintenance of that area. And then over on Dagsworthy Street, where Sunset Park's located, Center of the Inland Bays also is working on a project over there, but there's some current development that may or may not be underway in the next year or so. Center of the Inland Bays is hesitant to go ahead forward with that project until they determine where a driveway entrance may be. So that's kind of like what we have going on right now in town, separate from what your committee is talking about.
So as I'm understanding it, the goal here is not to recreate the wheel.
Right.
And once the consultants come and speak, their intentions would be to take the existing studies, analyze the work that's already in place or expected to be in place. Like you said, one project will take 2 years, and figure out what more needs to be done, because the studies that have been done are aged. And as you can see from what you're saying, there was a study in 2012, and 5 years later, there was the second study. So we are now getting close to 9 years since that study was done. And once these studies are reported out, the work that had been done that constituted the study is even older. And so I think the idea here is that we want not to start from scratch, but pick up from where things currently are and make them current.
Yeah, I think if you look on page 27 of the RKK study, it goes through the costs. This was 10 years ago for these water gardens and impervious pavers. Doesn't mean we can't apply for grants, right? Doesn't mean we can't apply for grants. We can. And we've done that in the town. And we've done a pretty good job, I feel, getting grants for the town. It's just that the costs are there, and if they do another study, they're just going to show an increase in those costs.
If I may,
Please.
Bill, I agree. Everything that's been done has been amazing in these last several years to follow that plan and do all of the projects that have been complete already and underway. I think what we're talking about is something, though, that is a little bit bigger scope and longer term looking, and gives us, with the proper help from the consultant in the study, at least to get things started, we'll be able to potentially bind together with other towns and go for bigger projects together that affect the bigger picture of sea level rise and its effects on the town. We're doing great work on the things that we've identified already, but I think there is a longer term, bigger picture here that we do have to attend to.
And,
Sure.
and as much as I've read and dug through our website and other towns' websites, to have your historical knowledge with a consultant, I think is the discussion I would be looking for on how to move forward.
And I think from this committee's perspective, based on what everybody has shared, we have exhausted what we can do as lay people. And it really needs to be in the hands of experts to analyze what exists and what we need to do to move on, which is why the suggestion has been to bring in those two consultants to speak to the town and answer those kind of questions, because they've got the expertise that we don't. Is that?
Yeah. Yes, and making sure we're launching from a place, not repeating previous work.
Other comments from the committee members? And we have one member of the public present, nobody virtual. And did you have anything you wanted to? Okay, so we have a 2-minute max.
Good morning. David Thomas, 1 Reed Avenue. I've got a sailboat to clean out today, so I understand. This was very helpful. The last I knew was that this meeting was going to have a presentation from GMB as to the proposals that they had prepared. And it was shortly after that, at one of the meetings at one of the other towns along the coast here, that I ran into and had a longer talk with David Trout. And I was amazed at how much he had been involved with over how many years, and at the time was actively working with respect to flooding on Dagsworthy, and so on and so forth. And it goes back to the cotton study. I talked in person to 2 former commissioners yesterday, and one of the things that came up is that I've never seen the cotton study. That would be helpful. The past is prologue. We've got to put together our history here so that we don't reinvent, we got to know our own thing. So I don't know that it's ready for prime time with the commissioners until this committee is able to get that record hashed out as to what is the design life that we're looking for? What are the threshold standards? Recently it was said that the berm was breached down at Bayard Avenue. Well, we had a 4.6 flood event recently. My understanding is that the problem there is not the height of the berm at the pumps. It's the fact that the water comes in from the direction of Venetian Bay down Swede Street. And as the levels go up, that's going to become increasingly a problem. There's already an interconnection between Kinley and Reed. So stepping back, what do we need to have there?
So we are at our 2 minutes.
The big concern that I had with GMB is that they mentioned that they didn't think DelDOT or DENREC would be involved or collaborate. To me, that was a big red flag. And I was very interested to see what was being done, the strong materials and answers there. A lot of that, though, has avoided pumps or any hard infrastructure, any concrete. And I think
what I would say to that is, again, I'm not an environmental engineer, and I would love to have a professional answer those questions. I feel like this, we're sort of in a ham and egg situation where, of course, we could find more information, and of course we could, and maybe a different approach would be having the town present to us the history, because,
yes.
But I also think going forward with having the consultants is available to answer questions, and through preparation on their own, that they might do on their own, and maybe we can present our own questions at that moment. But yeah, we're sort of at a regroup, stage, and I think having the consultants present their professional opinion is the best.
So
I'm sympathetic to that.
Wrap up with the comment, we've reached our limit on that. Kate, is there anybody else on virtual from the public?
Not this one.
So what I'm hearing is that we really, as a committee, are where we've done the max that we can without having the town consider the work we've done, hearing from the consultants, and figuring out if they want to move forward on their own,
Right.
or if they have very specific directives that they want our committee to take on. Would you all agree? Any comment from committee members on that? So having not seen anybody from the committee that wants to say something further, having heard from the public, can I hear a motion that we recommend to the town that they take the information that has been submitted along with this new initial questions for consultants sheet that Kelly has provided to us, and recommend that they bring in the 2 consultants to speak with them at the upcoming meeting or as soon thereafter as can occur? Motion, please.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor of making that recommendation to the commissioners, to the town, please vote.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposition from our committee members that occurs? No opposition, that motion is made. And Gary, I hope that you have what you need. I'm happy to send you again these initial questions that were circulated, if you need another copy of that, along with the packet of information that had previously been submitted. If we could ask that you please submit all of that again to the commissioners so that that can be considered and that it be put on the town agenda for as soon as possible.
And I'm happy to coordinate with these 2 consultants and prep them with, advanced questions. I do think they both listened to our last meeting or read the transcript of our last, so they're probably well aware of the other documents as well.
Thank you, appreciate it. Gary, any comments?
Yeah, just a couple of comments. I think the only new information the commissioners really need at this point is the latest response that we got from Strawn Environmental. But I think it's important, as we've gone through the discussion here and the comments from the town manager and also from Dave Davis, that we need to distinguish between, we need for the consultants to be knowledgeable about what has been done and to distinguish what we're talking about having done by one of these consulting companies, distinguish that from the work that has been done before. I think it's a matter of building on that previous work, but I think there's, as was suggested earlier, there's a longer term focus to this. And I think a broader focus as well. And there's also an educational focus that I believe is in both of the responses that we got from the environmental and engineering companies. So we just need to frame that, all of that, I think, for the commissioners so that they have the appropriate discussion and give appropriate consideration to this project and to the committee's recommendation.
Well, maybe a way to approach that is just having those questions put forward to them in advance.
I
Whatever the commission, maybe give the commissioners time to consider it and Bill's input, and we can prep them to be ready. The other thing that Sally and I got in that's sort of an existential conversation about whether we're supposed to be addressing post, if we get the 30-foot wave, are we supposed to be addressing what happens after? We're talking about prevention issues now. Is that in the purview of this committee also?
So I think we would like to hear back from the town for directives on that. But I think first steps are, let's take what we've done, put it in the hands of the town as we voted on just a minute ago, and then wait and see what happens from there. Does that work for everybody? So it sounds like we've exhausted A, and we have good news in moving on to B. So I'd like to hear from Sally and Gary on the status of the marketing committee. Sally?
Well, the marketing committee is back in business. I attended their first meeting Tuesday. You can tell that they're very enthusiastic about moving forward. It sounds like a very dynamic group of people. So I basically just talked very briefly about what my role on the marketing committee would be, which would be to assist with marketing as we needed for this committee's public education and awareness campaign, which I explained to them is going to be a multi-year adventure of sorts. And, it's really, I think it's something they have never done. So probably nobody has done anything of this magnitude before. And so at any rate, I basically just painted broad brush strokes, and I think we all agreed that it was best to have me embedded in the committee as opposed to being a liaison.
So you are now a formal member of the committee.
Yes.
And we have a chairperson of that committee.
Patrice Gansey, yeah.
She's on the call here, on the Zoom meeting.
Oh, good morning.
I asked if she has some comments.
Good morning, everyone. I'm on today to learn more about what you're doing and to confirm what Sally just said, that we are now an operational committee, and we intend to put your issues on our agenda as Sally urges us to do, and we're prepared to help with any education and outreach to the community on any initiatives that the town and you agree on and need help with. We intend to have more of a presence at a variety of events throughout the town, and of course would be happy to include any of those initiatives and work with the community. I think we talked at our meeting that one of the main goals would be to take the science that you're talking about and the detailed long-term look that you're talking about and help to translate it and socialize it in Dewey Beach so that residents understand the impact and the personal interest that they should have in these issues.
Any other comments from Gary or Sally regarding the marketing committee? Does the any committee member have questions for Patrice?
I don't have a question, but I came across something. I don't know where this is most appropriate to read it. In looking at other websites, with other communities, there's something There's a couple of apps that are crowdsourced data collection from the community. Yeah, I was saying to Sally, it's sort of like the Waze, the traffic app, the Waze of environmental coastal problems, where people sign up for the app and like Dave Thomas, for example, could report and share pictures of the flooding that he's currently experiencing. And so when you're on the app, people are live time showing their experience of what's happening, and so it's people decide to join up, the data is there, and we can use that data, but also it gets people sharing their experience of whatever current environmental.
What is this called?
Well, the one I looked at, there's several of them. What was the one I sent you, Sally?
Yeah, let me find it here.
Here I go.
And is this something that a town would elect to be part of, or is it more like the next door neighbor site where you?
I think it's more like the one I sent.
It's called Better, Safer Beach Days.
And Island Institute was the one, and there, so it just seemed like a way to maybe, and I bring it up now just because it seems like a foot in both of our committees. It's a marketing tool to get people involved and share their experience of what's going on in the town, and exactly like the ways of driving. Like I just drove by an accident on whatever. Reed Street still has a foot of water, whatever the issues are, but it's a way to engage the community in a way that they're participating and sharing their own experience.
Is there a cost involved?
I don't know. I just learned of it in perusing.
So do you think that's something that our committee should look into, or that the marketing committee should look into, or that we both should look into for purposes of then regrouping and sharing that information?
I sort of imagined it in both, because I think it would be a
Yeah.
strong marketing tool in terms of getting the community invested in the daily, weekly, monthly.
I hadn't heard of this, so this is
I hadn't
very
either, so and
interesting.
I haven't had time to really look into it, but I thought it was a cool idea.
So can I hear from committee members regarding this, as to whether this is something we want to look into and bring back to the committee next meeting? Anybody else have a comment that's virtual? Patrice, did you have anything you wanted to say about that?
I'm trying to quickly search on my app store to see if that's easily available, but certainly we can all look into it and see how it might be used for us and the town.
Just an idea.
So if I might suggest, since you've been looking into that, if you could look into it a little more and
Yeah.
bring back more information and work with Sally. Patrice, obviously you're welcome anytime and we welcome your input. If you want to go through Sally because the date and time doesn't work for the next meeting, we more than appreciate that, but I'm going to suggest that we look into that.
And I mean, it's not going to work unless we get a critical mass to participate, but it is a thought.
It's certainly very interesting. I'd never heard of that. So why don't we have you look into that for the next meeting? And we'll put that on our agenda for hearing from you on that, as well as Sally and Patrice. Does that work for you all? Excellent.
May I ask again, who sponsors this app? I'm not finding it easily on the App Store, so
I just pulled
You know what, Patrice, I can just send this to you.
perfect.
It's the Island Institute is one of them, but
Yeah.
there were several that I found.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm going to suggest that you all look into, if that's okay with you all, look into it, find out what's out there, what the cost may be, what the town might have to do to participate or agree that or whether it's like next door and it's just there.
Yeah.
And maybe bring
I
back
think
that
that's-
information for educational purposes of our committee. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Anybody else on the committee have a comment on that? No? Well, I'm thrilled to hear that, Patrice, you've accepted this chairpersonship, and I know that our committee is looking forward to working with you.
And we are looking forward to working with you too. Thank you.
So I bypassed but want to bring up the fact that we have an emergency system in place, and Kate has agreed to talk about that. So that's kind of part of A and kind of part of H.
Sure, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen so you guys can
Could I comment on this last point?
Well, we'll take public comment at the end because we were not voting yet, if that's okay.
Yeah, I thought we were going by topic and I wanted to contribute to item B.
Okay, please. Is it 2 minute max, please?
2 quick points. I really agree with what Kelly had said. The efforts in Crisfield, Maryland are very instructive. One of the ways that they got that substantial 90% brick grant, and yes, Delaware is one of the 20 states that's now trying to get the reinstatement of brick, was that they knew after flooding events how much damage was being done in town. And that's an important metric that makes you grant worthy in terms of what is it that you're seeking to prevent. And one of the ways they got their heads together was like on this type of social methodology. My quick example for Dewey Beach is that it was just last year, last boating season, that people began to come up from the old McKinney, now the Dewey Beach Yacht Club, because their ramp was so submerged as to be unusable, and they were coming up to Rehoboth Bay Marina to use their ramp. So there are only 2 ramps, and that's a life safety issue in Dewey, and one of them is becoming increasingly unusable. Well, okay, so what to do with the whole parking lot there at the end of Rodney Street that's being so flooded like that? So if we can put those kind of data points together, that's going to be very helpful.
I find people are much more happy to spend their money when they know what it's for.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
What's going on? What does it really look like?
Right.
Thank you. Any other member of the public have any comment? I don't see anybody virtually. So, Kate, if you would, please.
Sure. So I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, so again, my name is Kate Banaszak. I'm the town clerk here in Dewey and kind of have headed up the Code Red initiation system. So Code Red is an emergency alert system. It is used nationally, but Dewey Beach has decided to buy into the program. So we are officially live. So again, this is an emergency alert system. It's primarily for weather events, but it can really be used for anything, road closures, missing persons, etc. Currently, we have been using just our website to send out emails, so people may have received weather alerts from us by email. Code Red is a little bit more robust. It utilizes phone, text, and email alerts. We're in the midst of doing some training for our PD and our admin team, so this is still very new to us and we're all learning it, but again, we are live, so God forbid we have any sort of emergency happen, we can go ahead and put this to use right now. So we did recently put this out in our newsletter, which if you do not subscribe, definitely please do, but you can reach it either on our social media or right there on the homepage of our website at townofdeweybeach.gov. If we scroll through here, there is a whole piece done on Code Red, has some frequently asked questions for everyone, and also how you can click here to enroll, or for the easy registration right from your phone, you can just text Dewey to 24639, and then any questions can come to me. It's townclerk@townofdeweybeach.com. So I'm just going to show you really quick kind of what the back end of this system looks like and what it can do. So I'll show you. The cool thing about this is it actually uses geofencing in addition to a subscription model. So if I kind of draw a shape around the town of Dewey Beach, you can see there's 264 people in here. So we have 33 registered contacts, and 231 of those contacts are just people that happen to be in the area. So geofencing works like similar to an Amber Alert. when your phone goes off, you're in a certain area, it's exactly the same thing. Or a weather alert, there's a tornado coming and your phone goes crazy, this works the same way. So not only would we be able to reach those property owners that are subscribed to the system, but also anyone in that public population, those 231 contacts. This is great for visitors who are just there for the day. We have a weather problem. They would also be reached by text message, email, whatever public information is in that database, that's how we would be reaching out to them, if that makes sense.
So those public people aren't necessarily people that registered?
Correct.
Wow.
So how does, for example, some strange tourist that's never been to Dewey shows up and there's something that gets announced? Would it automatically show up, or would they have to have registered for that to occur?
So they would either had to have registered for the system for Code Red, or their information would be, these contacts, it pulls from the National Public Information Database. So if they have any public information, their email, their phone number, any of that, if that's in the MPID, they would get a text message from us or an email. We can't see that data, so I can't tell exactly out of those 231 people that is geofencing, I can't tell if we have their email or whatever, that's private, but it will hit them with whatever, again, phone number, email address that's in that public information system.
And how close in time? So for example, somebody reports, how close in time does it go out on the public system?
So we would be sending the alerts out to these people.
The town?
Yes.
And
So it goes immediate. So I'll kind of show you what that looks like. When I go to this quick alert here, I can decide who I want to send this to. So I can send it to our internal data, just our people that have subscribed, or I can send it to our public and internal data, so everyone that we can possibly reach. I can decide how it goes out, if I want to do an email through the mobile app, phone, text, however I would like to send it, and then I can just type in the message, exactly what I want to say. We can also add a response option. So say there was a really, really bad storm, we had severe flooding, and we wanted people to be able to respond to a text message. We could say, press 1 if you require assistance immediately. They can press 1, and then we would be able to have a conversation back and forth with this person. So we could respond to that text message, say, we noticed you said you need help, where's your address, where are you, what do you need, sort of deal.
is it impaired if the electricity goes out or internet goes down?
So we have a generator at Town Hall that would keep the systems working, and then Kate can talk to you, you can do it remotely on your cell phone, okay?
Yeah, I don't need to do this from a computer. I can actually send these out. Bill could send these out. Police chief could send it right from their cell phone if they had to.
And that's my next question. Who is the decision maker on what to send out?
So we have already set this just to make it a little bit easier on us. This system pairs automatically with the National Weather Service.
Okay.
So we can set it to say if there's going to be a tornado, there's going to be a nor'easter, there's going to be winds over a certain mile per hour. Snowstorm. We want it to automatically send. So we don't have to make a move. It's automatically going to send it out to you guys. So it's already set up to do that. But if there's anything additional that we want to send out or something specific to Dewey that we want to send, we can do that with this feature here.
Would that be limited strictly to Dewey or the outlying areas for information as well? So for example, if I look at the television, I see that this is happening in nearby Milton or whatever. Is it just going to give information for Dewey? Will it include Rehoboth?
That's a good question. I would say because usually the National Weather Service kind of bases things on their weather centers, which involve zip codes. Since we share a zip code with Rehoboth, you might occasionally get some things that are happening in Rehoboth. That's possible. Would this system alert you for something in Milton? No. It would be specific to our general area.
Other questions from committee members?
Do you mind repeating how you register for this? This is great.
Sure.
Yeah, I love it. It's awesome.
So I do want to specify, the town has property owner data for billing purposes and whatnot. We're in the midst of pulling all of that info over into Code Red, but I am going to say, please don't assume that you're in the Code Red system. I would request that everyone who wants to receive alerts, go ahead and register. For the easiest way to register, just text DEWEY, DEWEY, to the number 24639.
24639.
You got it.
Awesome. Thank you.
And Kate, do you have to be in the area to get the alert? So if you are out of state, will you still get the alert if you've registered?
If you are registered, you would receive it no matter where you are.
Other questions?
No, but I do think it's great.
And other than the newsletter, is that information being shared with people that come to rent or anything of that nature?
So I think this is going to be a good project to work alongside with the marketing committee to start really getting it out there. We are going to be sharing it on our Facebook, X, Instagram, all of that. We'll get it out that way. We'll continue with reminders in our newsletter as well. But yeah, we actually just went live a few days ago, so this will be an ongoing process to build that database.
Other questions? I think that's a fabulous.
It looks like Patrice has a comment or a question.
Yes, please, Patrice.
Thank you. I have already put it on the agenda for our next marketing committee meeting. And I do have some thoughts about how we might encourage realtors to make it to sign up for this and use it to transmit information to renters during the season as needed.
Does our committee believe that we need to do anything in light of the fact that the marketing committee has taken this on to notify the public? Do we think we have any further action that we need to explore?
I don't think so.
Anybody from the committee have any comments on that? Okay, thank you very much, Kate. Anybody on the committee have other items that they'd like to have considered for the next agenda or other comment about what we've already discussed?
Deborah,
Yes, please.
let me just mention one thing. This is just something for you to think about, consider. There's no charge for you to pursue this, but as everybody knows, Dewey is part of the National Flood Insurance Program and therefore the community rating system. We currently get a 5% discount in terms of flood insurance premiums. And the question is, are there recommendations, are there things that the town could do practically that would help to improve our discount, our insurance discount? I'm not sure whether there are, but you may want to think about that. I know one of the things that factors into it is having regulations or policies that exceed the minimum standards that CRS and NFIP have for flood insurance for municipalities like Dewey Beach. And we did something like that with respect to the freeboard. We're already above the minimum requirements with respect to freeboard. I don't know if that's going to affect our insurance rating or not, but there may be perhaps a project for looking a little more closely at this and seeing if there are some things that we might suggest that the town could practically do, either legislatively or just policy-wise, that would help to improve the insurance discount.
May I hear from committee members if there's somebody or somebodies who are willing to explore this and bring the information back to our next meeting? Anybody willing to take this on?
I'll just say I think this is something that we need to talk to Dawn about. We kind of mentioned it, I think, at our last meeting about how this potential plan would impact the community rating system. And she said she wasn't sure. There were no specific guidelines on how the plan would affect it, but she seems knowledgeable about the subject.
Is Dawn on with us today? No. Liam, is that
She's not.
something-
She clearly would have to be part of the conversation.
Right.
I'm just, I'm just trying to get people to think through what a baseline level of understanding should be about how this system really works.
Liam,
So
is
that
that, sorry, Gary.
well, yeah, I mean, this doesn't have to be something that anybody particularly takes charge of right now. Just might want to give it some thought and maybe have some general discussion at the next meeting, if you think that's warranted.
So would we like to have a subcommittee on that, or do we want to just individually see what we learn, or just have Dawn speak to it? What are thoughts from the committee members?
Dawn is knowledgeable, it would be nice to have her speak to it.
So maybe speak to it so we can figure out where we might go from there?
Yeah, she might have.
Does that seem, so we can put that on the next agenda. Gary, would you be so kind as to speak to Dawn and ask her to speak to us at the next meeting in that regard?
Sure, I'm happy to do that. Obviously, Bill's here. He's aware of what I'm talking about, certainly, and I can have a conversation with Dawn. If there's any materials that we could put together that, I can help do that as well.
So I'm hearing we want to add that to our next meeting agenda as something to explore. And Bill, if you and Dawn might be able to just inform us the next meeting, so maybe we can determine if there's more work that we need to do on that. Does that seem like where we want to go with that? Any comments on that from the committee members? Okay, so we will put that on our next agenda item. Thanks, Gary. Anything else that the committee members would like to have added to our next agenda?
Could I speak to that last one?
I'm gonna let the committee members speak, and then I'm happy to turn it over to members of the public for 2-minute comment each.
I thought we were finished with that last.
So we're just trying to figure out what else we may want to add to our next agenda. Other items that we want to add on? Member of the public have final comment on anything?
This is somewhat dated information, but as of years ago, the specific person who was tasked with coaching coastal towns with respect to how they could garner CSR credits and flood premium reductions was up at the University of Delaware Sea Grant College. Specifically, the contact person, I believe, would be Danielle Swallow. And she may no longer be doing that, but I think she would certainly know who is. But that was a specific focused benefit that was intended to assist towns such as Dewey on that specific item. It would be highly relevant to have Dawn because she's our floodplain administrator. And then there's a county floodplain administrator. That's their bailiwick.
Thank you, appreciate it. Any other comments from the public or from the committee?
Just one quick thing, Deborah. Sorry. First of all, to that point, Dave, Danielle's a great resource. Only thing is she'd be taking like volunteer hours to come be with us, but it'd be worth having her for sure. Other thing, addressing some of the points that were brought up, I was glad to see that Larry Trout recognized the importance of coordinating with DENREC and DELDOT especially. And one of the things that has developed since that 2017 RK&K report has been the DELDOT resilience plan for Route 1. And any effort that we have regarding sea level rise going forward is going to need to be in some sort of coordination with DELDOT. Whether they raise the road or whatever they plan on doing, we need to have our own spin on things, which is why this plan is important. DELDOT is not responsible for the town of Dewey Beach. So yeah, I was glad to see that Larry recognized that, and I think he'd be, the best voice to answer any questions that the town council had.
Thanks.
So just want to say.
Well, and I think that's a point that I think is a blessing and a curse about Route 1. because they would make plans regardless of who we are and what we're doing. But on the other hand, it also makes us important. You know, they care about Dewey because of Route 1. So I think there's a hook there to make them care. And like Liam is saying, we want to be part of the conversation so we can influence how they care.
Yeah, it's easy to overlook based on our size, but you all make a very good point that we are they've got to drive through our town in
Right.
order to go from place to place.
18,000 cars a day north and 18,000 cars a day
Wow.
south.
Wow.
Is that the average?
I'm writing that down.
That's the average,
Or-
that's not just in the summer, that's the average.
So both ways.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a main route, and that's one of the reasons why we were able to get the grant for Reed Street, because when Reed Street floods, sometimes it closes Route 1.
Yeah.
So that was for the emergency equipment that needs to go up and down. But I would strongly encourage everybody on the committee to read through the 2012 and the 2017. So when we do get some feedback from possibly other contractors, we know what's already been done and how much it was costing back then.
Would you be able to send that out to committee members
I
electronically?
sent it to Sal.
Oh,
I
you did?
have them.
Oh,
I have them.
Sally, could you
Yes.
just send that to everybody?
Yeah,
And
that,
it's also on our town webpage.
Yeah, I glanced through some, it's hard, I mean, there's so many.
There's a lot there.
So it's nice to know what's important to look at because we get overwhelmed when you go on some of these town roads.
Okay, I promised that we would keep it within an hour for those that are working today. Do we have any other comments from the committee? Any other comments from the public? No comments. I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second? All in favor?
bye. Thank you.
Any opposed? The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.